Hello everyone, this is a small request here from the snowy Finland. I'm here to send a little Christmas greeting to you all and share a story with you. It's not a happy story, but it is my story, and it's not the whole story. But it's one side of me that I wanted to share with you. And I'm doing this because I feel like quite a few people may have had hard times during Christmas times, and I feel like it shouldn't be this way. And when we are more open about things that are bothering us and stuff, I think that living in general gets easier. Even if you enjoy Christmas, I hope you listen to this story with me. So I wanted to talk a little bit about myself. And in order to do that, I need to talk about my father. And in order to talk about my father, I need to talk about his father, my grandfather. I never saw him when he was alive, meaning that the first time I saw my grandfather was in his casket. I was a teenager. My father didn't really saw him either during his lifetime, only a handful of times. My grandfather was at the sea. I think he was working in an oil rig somewhere in Norway or something. And he wasn't a good dad. My grandmother was a single mom for 5 children. They had a poor household. It was a rough time in Finland after the war. It was the building time. It wasn't a recession, but there wasn't too much money. And my grandfather never sent any aid and never was there for the kids. And as you can imagine, this really left a kind of like a scar on my father. I have heard some stories from his Christmas times when he was a kid, and how sometimes they didn't even have money for like food, and all they were eating during Christmas was kind of like a soup made out of wheat flour, and then they got like porridge from the neighbors and stuff. Neighbors were helping out. So you can imagine the amount of shame that leaves to the kids. And kind of like abstract sadness when you don't have your father around and you don't really have a reason or know why. So this is me analyzing my father a bit, but to me it seems that the fact that his father was never around made him associate the kind of like the lack of love from the father to the present. And my father has said many times that he doesn't want to have the same story repeated with his kids. So he has made sure that we have had presents, me and my sister, and food on the table, but he has always struggled with the love part. And I believe this is mostly to do with the hardships he dealt with during his childhood, and kind of like a shell that he had to create around him in order to survive. There is no need for the shell anymore, but there hasn't been anything happening to break it. During Christmas time especially, his alcoholism gets pretty bad. I think it's the anxiousness talking and kind of like having a hard time to cope with reality and a need to run away from it. So this has made my father drink quite a lot during Christmases, and when I was a kid I didn't think too much about it, but I have realized later in life that I have felt it all. I have felt the anxiousness and the sadness and being scared of what might happen if I say something. It has made me agreeable in nature and also depressed. I have had childhood depression, and it has been with me throughout my adulthood. And only now, when I'm 30, I've started to unravel the threads, and I feel like I'm able to feel again, and I'm able to make myself feel again. It's been super tough at times, because there has been a lot of sadness inside me that has come forth, and to be honest, I have been crying quite a lot recently. The crying has felt very cathartic, but there is always, it's always a mixed bag. For example, I've always quite enjoyed how I am agreeable in nature and kind of like want to be good to everyone. But if I am that way because I have learned to deal with an alcoholic in my life, it makes the fact of who I am a little bit sad in a way. And it's facts like these, and the fact that like I feel like I've lost so many years of my life to my own troubles, trying to hide from the fact of my feelings, and kind of like trying to hide from reality. It feels bad, to be honest. But on those days when I feel good about myself, I see the good side of these happenings. This tends to be the underlying fact of life, that no matter what happens to us, it can make us either weaker or stronger depending how we are able to deal with the situation. And how we are able to deal with situations depends on multiple variables. But the big ones to me are resilience, meaning the will to live, and love, being able to feel love and being empathetic. And the more conscious you are about yourself, the easier it is to face the truth, because you don't feel like you need to hide from yourself. And this is probably the toughest part, because nobody wants to admit that they have done something wrong, or that they have wasted their lives, or all these negative aspects that may be inside of us. But they are so necessary for us to face, because reality is always what we make of the situations. Everyone has their own hardships in life, but what we make of it is our story. And going back to this Christmas story, I feel like I've been thinking about the intergenerational traumas and what they do to people. And it's interesting because even though my father's alcoholism has left a huge impact on me, I very much understand him. I don't agree with the things that he has ended up doing, but I understand him. The fact that he didn't have a father in his life, and the fact that the childhood was very rough, and his young adulthood also was very fast, rock and roll life. It's hard to be unscathed after those events. But in all honesty, he hasn't been able to face the reality of his own actions as of yet, and that has created a little bit of a turmoil in our lives. But this turmoil has been necessary, because when we get more distant from our parents, we are able to start to see our own worth, our own value. When we are living with our family, we are using them as mirrors, and because they are our parents, they mean a lot to us, and their opinions are our reality for the longest time. And lately, when I've been able to find my own worth, I've noticed things that happened in my childhood that I'm not okay with. It's sad that some things have happened, but now is the time for me to make the decision myself. That's what I am okay with in my life. And what I've decided is that I don't want to be around alcoholism anymore if I have an option to be away from there. And I don't want my future children or my sister's children to experience the same thing. And making these type of boundaries can be very rough and sad, but they are always for our best if we truly recognize the situations. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm super grateful for it. And I feel sad that my father had so tough times during his childhood. He deserved more love. And I also deserved more love in my childhood. But the fact that he, meaning my father, did his best, gave us a roof and food and as much love that he could, has made me able to try to break the cycle of this trauma and these addictions. You see, I've had my fair share of addictions. I will talk about them more in future. And some of it is still a battle I am battling with. But I am optimistic about my future because I see the reasons why I have felt the need to try to make myself feel better by toying with my chemical balances. I haven't had too much extra dopamine in my life, and then the addictions came to help with stabilizing. Nowadays, I don't feel as depressed anymore, and I feel like I can actually feel emotions, real emotions. And the transition may also be tough because when you start to feel, there is a lot of sadness you may feel at first because a lot of it is inside and never came out. So, in all honesty, now when I'm 30, I have been crying more than I have in my whole life before. But being able to feel, whether it's sadness or happiness, is something that only us living persons can experience. And that is worth so much. So, what now? Well, the reason I wanted to share about my childhood and my father's childhood is because there is always a possibility for us to change the course. I know for a fact that sometimes it feels impossible, and that has a lot to do with the resilience. If we don't see a reason for going forth, it's hard to find the resources to do the changing course. But when the time is right, when you've thought about things through, it feels very rewarding to take actions to your own hand and decide for yourself that's what you are worth. What this means to me is that if my father, for example, will be drinking, I will not be there. But I will welcome him wholeheartedly if he wants to change, or if he is sober. And if this means a Christmas without parents or a father around, then so be it. We emotions are a weird thing, especially when they are ambivalent. There's so much good and so much sadness in a lot of things. And it is tough to navigate what is good and what is bad when things are hazy. Distance is a nice way to clear your head. For example, meditating, if you are able to focus a little bit outward, zoom out, try to see a bigger picture, things may seem a little clearer. Seeing how our friends and their families interact may give us ideas how things could be, and how our own reality is not the sole reality but just one way of dealing with things. And when you truly realize this, we can start to change things in us and how we interact with other people. We may not be always right, but if our intentions are good for the betterment of ourselves and people around us, it is very hard to go wrong. And in the end here, I guess I want to share some thoughts about how to make the Christmas time more bearable. So, like everything in life, in the culture, it's all made up by humans. Most of the stuff is made by humans. Maybe some stuff resonates more with reality that surrounds us, but most of the traditions are symbolic in nature, that we treat literally here. And same goes to Christmas. It is like any other day. You wake up, you go to sleep, the sun rises, the sun goes down. And the fact that it makes us anxious is because we feel that we have kind of like these things that we need to do in order to be part of the society, be part of the family. We need to give presents, we need to be with the family and the Christmas peace. All that jazz. If it makes you anxious, just remind yourself that it's just like any other day. We can... I like to say it's kind of like the derealization, but you know, when you kind of like zone out from your body and just enjoy the moment, being present, and the time goes by. And yeah, I don't want to be cynical at all. There is a lot of aspects in Christmas that I love. And the fact that when we find our self-worth, we are able to find our own traditions and things that we find dear. Build our own traditions and things to resonate with our own values. So instead of doing things how our parents told us, focus on the things that we find valuable in life and do your best to make your reality look like your own. Do things that you are happy to do. For example, I'm doing pickled onions for the first time now, trying to help a little bit with condiments. I will be bringing them to my sister's place, and my mom will be there too, and my nephew. And sometimes I've had a lot of troubles with presents, but I've learned to stop stressing about it, because the stressing never makes things better. It makes the fears realize themselves so many times. So if you have troubles with gifts, try to be the best version of yourself and bring that as a gift. That is a little bit silly thing to say, but I truly mean it, because sometimes I felt that way too, that like having me still around can be regarded as a gift. When sometimes life feels so hard that it's just impossible to think about getting gifts and being helpful for other people when you are having hard time to be good to yourself. But anyways, I hope this message isn't too dark. I want to give a message of hope to you guys too. Because when you look at the macro picture, I feel like this is one of the better outcomes that could have happened. Only a span of 2 generations and we have the first kids in our family line to go to universities and try to break the cycles. A lot of those cycles, they haven't really kind of like made themselves known to the people who are stuck in them. And they may even go to the graves without understanding the full scope of things. And that will happen to every one of us. Nobody knows the full scope of things. We are always just getting deeper and deeper, one layer beneath the surface, and finding another layer. But what I was saying is that I don't remember him anymore. I guess that's okay. There's so many things in life worth living for. And I really hope that you find your own thing that you are happy with in life. Because that has been my savior. When I started to paint 3 years ago, I felt that I got the sense to live again. And the fact that I am able to improve on things that I enjoy and just do things that I enjoy is so nice and so worth living. And if you're having struggles during Christmas time, I'm sending you a lot of love and a lot of hope. There has been many days when life has had no meaning to me and things have looked more grim. But going through those dark times, we are able to come back up and maybe even bloom better when we have garnered all those deeper understandings of ourselves from those dark times. I hope you have a pleasant Christmas time, and I'm sending you so much love. You are valuable, and you are worth all good things that are coming to your life. See you in the next video. Bye bye.